Hey pals, welcome to the One for the Road podcast. I'm Craig, and this week I'm not joined by Paul Wynn or Chris Laycock because Chris Laycock's moving house and Paul is off getting his 5G implant. So standing in is my good friend and One for the Road podcast's biggest fan, Dave McDermott. How are you, mate?
I'm all right.
I've got you down as our biggest fan because, you know, in the 3 episodes that we've put out, nobody else has approached me in Coupland to say that they're listening.
It's kind of weird, yeah. After a year and a half of not seeing you, I bumped into you twice in 3 weeks, both times whilst listening to your podcast. Like the first time it was weird. The second time I was like, okay, this is really fucking weird.
Yeah. So yeah, you listen to me and I will.
York, man. That's York for you, though, isn't it? It's beautiful. You can have little things like that where you don't want to, not that you don't want to see someone, but you can just bump into them. Just, you know, you'll be listening to a tune by a band. You know, I could be listening to a Mag 7 tune. You know, which does actually happen. I have listened to a couple of Mag 7 tunes on Spotify, and then Dave will message me on Facebook, and I'll just be like, "Yo," and then we'll talk about that time we went on a Caribbean cruise, which is not nearly as exciting as being on this One for the Road podcast. So.
Yeah, and that other voice that you can hear that started talking before we got a chance to introduce him.
Sorry,
is the wonderful Dom Smith of many different things. Soundsphere Magazine, drumming in a whole host of bands. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I was just remembering that time when me and you were like unboxing print magazines in like 2012 when we did our first issue. And then I had another flashback to when we DJ'd together at Cert 18 like 15, 20 years ago. And Dave was also there for that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Dave was also there for that.
So we both DJ'd with you at Cert 18 back in the day.
Yeah. Because I can't remember how that happened. So like we got each other a bunch of gigs, didn't we? Like I was DJing Cert, and then Craig started DJing Cert, and then Craig started promoting shows, and we all just ended up helping each other out. It was awesome. And Dave just happened to be there looking boss the whole time.
I vaguely knew Craig back then, but we won't go into how because it's not important.
Mutual friends.
Well,
mutual friends is a nice diplomatic way of putting it. We'll leave it there.
I think I remember that story. Yeah, wasn't
you won't know
crazy?
You won't know it
crazy girl involved. I can't remember.
Yeah, basically.
No, I think I remember. Yeah, I think I do remember. Me and Craig, we were like a YSJ radio society. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like
that's where it all started.
That was how we met, and then you started One for the Road, and we were sharing like PR contacts, and you started doing a bunch of interviews, and we ended up doing some stuff together. We did like Papa Roach together once in Sheffield. I think God forbid we did 20. No, it would have been 20 years. Like 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I remember Papa Roach.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
I remember, you say God forbid, that was the one we did at the Academy 2 in Sheffield, didn't we? And it was dead, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was dead. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's that room I think holds maybe 400 or 500 people. There can't have been more than 50 for them.
No,
a couple of rows along the barrier.
Who was it? Was it El Nino they were supporting or something?
Yes.
Supporting? Yeah.
Oh, El Nino, I remember that. Quite good.
Yeah, El Nino are actually just they've started a new band, like the original members of El Nino. They got in touch with me yesterday, weirdly enough. It's called Lion at the Gates, and it's like 3 original members of El Nino. Because now none of them are original. The El Nino band is no longer El Nino. Anyway, but that's how me and Craig kind of got. Well, there's loads of other stuff in there, like because you started helping me on Soundsphere. We did the print issues together. Well, you helped me with the print issues, and then you started One for the Road. You had the website and everything, which was ace. Then somebody, can I swear on the podcast?
Go for it.
Didn't some dickhead fuck you over on the website or something?
That was way back. That one was when I was doing Shattered Glass Media.
Oh, Shattered Glass Media. That was it. Shattered Glass was the first thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you like started putting on these wicked festivals, like pop punk festivals with bands that I like Jim Lockey and the Solemn Sun. Like I didn't even know who they were, and then you put them on, and I started listening to the Solemn Sun loads because they
started going again, haven't they, recently?
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
they're playing the weekender that I'm doing in October at the Fulford.
Oh, you're doing a weekender
nice.
in October, Craig?
Yeah.
That's
there you
awesome.
go. Plug cheap. There's a cheap plug. There you go. Plug for.
Yeah, so we've got Faintest Idea on the Friday night. That'll be fun. And then we've got Gaz Brookfield, Nick Parker, and then Snake Rattlers and Nosebleed. And I've just booked Drones as well to play on the Saturday night.
Nice.
That'll be ace.
Nice, great show, man. Like what? Like I guess this is me sort of interviewing you. So I'll sort of, but like how have you like? How, because obviously I knew you when you first started, like doing. I think were you doing shows at Set with the same time I was doing shows?
I think it had turned to Speakeasy by the time I put my first.
Yeah, Speakeasy. Like what's the biggest lesson you've learned since then to now?
Don't book Louise Distrust.
Yeah, that. No, I think it's don't try and do too much.
Right. Yeah. Don't.
You know, I've spent years putting on like 30, 40 shows. One year I did 50 shows. And
yeah.
A lot of the time I was just doing it for the sake of having a regular night. And I was just putting on stuff that I just wasn't particularly interested in.
Right.
And now I only do like a handful a year. And they're just much better shows, the better attended.
Special shows.
I think that's something that a lot of smaller bands could do with taking on board. It's something that Revenge of the Psychotronic Man, who, not my kind of music, but they run Taylor Records, who basically are responsible for half the UK punk scene. But one of the things they will say, they will never do more than 3 gigs a year in their hometown. Because you end up saying yes to everything, and then no one turns up because obviously no one wants to see you like the same band every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
No matter how good you are, no one wants to see you all the time. So
yeah.
And it's so easy as a small band to just say yes to everything because you want to get out there.
But I think
Revenge of the Psych. Go on, Craig. Sorry.
I was going to say one of the other things I've learned is do some proper research when you get offered a show as well.
Yeah.
Because I remember like when I first started doing a lot of stuff at the Black Swan, I was getting it was sort of on the wave
nice shows.
Like on the wave of like everybody doing their little mini Frank Turner impression. So there was just like guys with acoustic guitars coming through every night of the week wanting shows. And I said yes to so many of them. And like some of the nights there was probably just me and Dave in the room once or twice.
There's probably at least one out of Johnny Gill and Chris Mather there as well. One of those two have been there too.
Yeah, they'll have been supporting.
True.
But then I got I got sick of that, like just constantly putting on those shows all the time. And then I just said no to a bunch because I just didn't have it in me to put on some more shows. And some of the ones that I've turned down actually went on to do quite well for themselves.
Yeah. It's a similar thing like Aaron from BGB, obviously slightly different scene, but yeah, he said a lot of the same things. Like when he first started, it's so easy to get to that trap of wanting to do loads all the time. Yeah, you do just end up putting on stuff you regret. And then he went through the same thing of just not doing it for nearly 2 years at one point because he just got so fed up. Thankfully, he started doing it again, and the rest is history. It's doing really well.
Yeah, because I got offered a gig that was it was like, oh, can we just do a Monday night at the Black Swan, which it's 50 cap room, so it's like it's not a big deal. I was like, no, I just can't be bothered with another one. No one's going to come. Like, I'm just going to leave it, and that ended up being Will Varley, who went on to much bigger things. So yeah, could have got on that one. I think he was touring with Tim O.T. and he ended up putting it on himself. And I think about 2 or 3 people went. Would have been a handy guy to know.
A handy guy to know, but you still made the right call at the time, then.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can only do so much.
Yeah, you put on some cracking shows over the years, man. Like cracking gigs, and even if I hadn't gone, even if I've not gone to them, because I've been doing other stuff or whatever, like you always hear they're good shows. Like people always have a good time at One for the Road shows, which is cool. Do you know what I mean? Like you've ended up
good to hear.
Becoming you've ended up becoming like regionally people know and you've got a good reputation. There are other promoters, of course, we don't need to name, that don't necessarily have that reputation regionally. And I think, you know, it's nice to know, especially for the sort of pop punk acoustic whatever, you know, you kind of have bands from like Leeds here, you know. Yeah, absolutely.
Also, yeah, as like speaking as someone from various ska and punk bands, there's the two promoters I'd played for in York, and that's you and
BGB. Yeah, of course.
In punk bands, because I've had prior to recent bands when I was younger and less experienced. Yeah, I've had so many bad experiences with dodgy promoters.
Oh, well, and
we all, promoters, I can guarantee, worst case, I'll have a fun night, and that's you and BGB.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think we've played
very
one of your shows.
Very weirdly, like very different in terms of, but quite a lot of crossover, but very similar attitudes, basically.
Yeah, just good fun, you know, just good fun shows with good people, and that's why
playing the music first. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Dom, what are you working on at the minute? What's your current project?
Segue. Yeah. Well, so Soundsphere is doing all right. We're still working with young people across the north of England. So we're still doing stuff we do stuff with York St John's. We do stuff with Leeds Beckett. We're doing stuff with universities across the country. Basically, we're offering internships and work placements to young people that can't afford to move to London and do their stuff. So they ended up coming with us. Obviously, we've had writers go on to like Independent on Sunday, The Guardian, NME, a bunch of international publications. And yeah, like I'm based in Hull now. Obviously, I think I either saw you when I'd moved back from America last time. I don't know. I was in the US for a bit, and then I moved back here just in time for I was 2 years before, but it feels like the pandemic's been ages. But yeah, I'm quite happy, and it's commutable distance to York. I'm in York a bunch. I'm still just gonna be. I'm gonna be doing some work with Young Thugs Records. Obviously, me and Chris Sherrington are pretty tight, so we're always talking about stuff. So yeah, it's nice, man, because I can come into York. Parasitic Twins, I did with Max from Sleepaway. Dave, Don't Say Anything. That was really good. I got to tour Taiwan. Like that was pretty mental. Like just before we finished up, we played like Asia and did some European shows, which was mint. So that was cool. But yeah, band stuff. I'm just taking a rest. Mary and the Ram, the post-punk project I'm doing, like we're sort of studio based, so we've got a couple of things in the pipeline, and then the Nightmare Generator, which is the doom metal project I do with Creature. I don't know if you know Creature from TC6, Craig. You might know of him, but he's
yeah,
bit crazy.
Always cross paths.
And yeah, Creature and Kieran, who is in Mary and the Ram with me, and sort of. So we've got some.
James from Them Kind of Rejects, who you definitely know, Craig.
James left the thing because he had too much going on, but I'd love to see him back in because he's great. So that's like a more of a smorgasbord of Hull and York musicians. So we've got a gig booked for next year, which will be my sort of probably my live return, because I'm doing my counselling training. I'm training to be a counsellor as well. So once that's done, that's my sort of main focus at the moment. Still doing the podcast. I've got this wrestling podcast, and we're working with like WWE now and some of the sort of biggest wrestling promotions in the world as part of this. It's called Gimme a Hull, which is obviously a take on Stone Cold Steve Austin's catchphrase. So that's doing really well. Yeah, man, like things are great. Like Soundsphere is always good. There's always stuff going on, festivals. Even now, even in the pandemic, people are finding new and creative ways to do things. So there's always news. Obviously, a lot of those people from back in the day with One for the Road and Shattered Glass. I'm still working with a lot of the same people. They're still sending me good music, still sending me good stuff. But the primary focus, man, is always, supporting young people, creating opportunities for young people in Yorkshire and beyond. And it's going real well. Some exciting stuff. Oh yeah, I've got some gigs booked. So I'm promoting. I'm co-promoting in Hull now, the Adelphi, which was always a goal of mine, was to promote shows at the Adelphi. We've got a show called Ultra Festival without the H and the U, which is really cool. We've got some wicked bands coming for that. You can just Google Ultra Festival or check it out on Facebook. It's an all-day thing.
I think pre-pandemic I was meant to be playing that with Harrison.
Yeah,
sure.
You will have been.
But then obviously, the pandemic happened and nothing happened for a year and a half.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of shows coming up. We've got a wicked band from the US called the Cold Stairs, like blues two-piece coming to play, which is really cool. We've got so many gigs like in the pipeline. 2 things announced because obviously the pandemic, you just don't know. But yeah, so I'm working with Bud Heron, who's a promoter. He does some stuff for the Fulford now as well. It's a lot easier to co-promote and work with people when you're putting gigs on. So I've started to collaborate. Started to collaborate with him, and we're all speed ahead for post-pandemic, and Soundsphere is going from strength to strength. We're sort of 10 years old now, and finding new ways to create opportunities to make money, to expand. There's some good ideas in the pipeline, and once again, man, like thanks for like chatting to me, because honestly, it does feel like it all started, and you were one of the people that was there for us. Dave has obviously been there for me personally, socially as well, but like you also, like, I think responsible for Soundsphere's kind of early development and success, getting involved in those first issues, man. So like, you don't often get a chance to say stuff like that, but I really do appreciate your kind of influence and sort of time and everything, the help you gave me and other people gave me at that time when I was kind of taking a big risk on, particularly when we did the print issues and stuff. Like, it was a massive risk, and we're still going. So I appreciate your help in that early stage, man.
I mean, it goes both ways, man. I mean, obviously we met at York St John Uni, and obviously you were a couple of years older than me. So, sort of coming in and having somebody that's already started doing the sort of things that I want to do, and somebody that I could look up to, it's cool, man.
It's a pleasure. I think that's the thing. It's like, and obviously you've gone on to do some great things, and, you're working hard, day in, day out as well, and that's the thing. It's like people don't see. I mean, I remember there's a story you told me once, about like the effort you put in for these shows. Obviously you're working your day job as well, but then there was a bunch of shows you did with like Jonah Mantranga from Far. Like, and I remember hearing about all these stories about him staying on your couch and all this kind of non-glamorous stuff that people don't see. People are like, oh, Craig's putting on this dude from Far, and you're filling out the basement or you're filling out whatever venue. And then like people don't see like the stress that goes into like putting bands up and like organizing stuff like that. And like, so, because I do it still, but I don't do it to the level that you would do. Well, you continue to do it at, and I've got the utmost respect for you, like putting bands on and giving them places to stay, sometimes your own place. And I remember, just because I always loved Far, but then I remember hearing like, there was an experience, not that I'm trying to, I can't remember the specifics, so I could be wrong, but there was a time where he like kept you up all night or something because he was staying on your couch. And I was like, people don't see stuff like that. People don't hear about stuff like that. They only look at the, and for people that are just listening, I'm using the air quotes thing. People only see or hear about the glamorous stuff. Oh, Craig's putting on this band. Or Dave's going on tour. Yeah, Dave's going on tour. Or like,
I haven't done the toilet circuit with punk bands.
Yeah,
a decade ago. Touring is not the glamorous thing that people think it is, unless you're in the Offspring or Metallica or something. Like, touring is not glamorous. You have to be big before it becomes glamorous.
Yeah, and promoting
3-4 weeks in a minibus with 7 sweaty dudes who aren't washing. Yeah,
exactly.
Playing 10 people a night. It's not.
Yeah,
really cool.
That's it. And the promoting side's the same thing. And I mean, like I've done things I never thought I'd get to do. Like the European shows with the band. I never even knew I was thought I could be in a band at the big. When we did like Sticky Back Plastics and Sleep Away and Twins and whatever. But then like play in Asia last year or 2 years ago now it will be. And like people are like, oh, that's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, but I fucking shit myself on stage because I ate some bad food. Like, people don't hear about that, do they?
That's
You know,
fucking rock and roll.
I was shitting on like the walls in the hotel room because I eaten some terrible food somewhere down the line. I think I actually drank the water. I think the food was fine. I drank the water. Obviously, you don't drink the water, and I was so desperate for a drink, I'd forgotten. And like so people like, oh wow, that's so cool. You get to do that, and I'm like, yeah, but I was dying that whole day. Like we headlined this flipping. It was like it's called Taiwan Death Vest, and like I was dying the whole day just trying to there was one toilet in this venue, admittedly quite a nice venue in this this place, but like, do you know what I mean? People only hear about the oh yeah, Craig's putting on these bands, or like Dave's toured with these bands, or like Dom's doing this. It's like, and even like Soundsphere and stuff, and you remember it from like doing Shattered Glass, Craig, and One for the Road. People think you're interviewing all these bands and how cool it is, and it's like, yeah, fuck right, absolutely, what a wonderful privilege to do it, absolutely. But like the admin side of it, the arranging it, the showing up, and the like bands not showing up, and like, you know, things like that people completely miss. You know what I mean? But for every one of that, there's a time where we have like a good DJ night at set, and we play banging tunes for people, and there could be 5 people in there, or there could be 20 people in there. But we had loads of fun doing those things. And then me and Dave have been on a freaking Caribbean cruise, so you know, like you know, it sort of balances out. I think. I don't know whether you guys feel the same way.
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to ask you the obviously it's great going and doing all these interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, once you start doing that sort of thing, you have the bucket list of people that you really want to speak to, like your ultimate goal. Now, obviously, I know the man that's been on your bucket list since day one is obviously Marilyn Manson.
Oh yeah, no, we can scratch that now.
Yeah, I mean,
we get like his old, like I'm friends with some of his touring band, or his former touring band, and that you know, some of them, you know, some of them are dead against it, and they think he's, you know, they've got loads of stuff to say against him. Some of them are completely on his side and saying stuff like, oh, you know, they just wanted the stardom, that's why they're saying this stuff. You know, I'm not going to name any names, but for me personally, man, it's a debate. If we didn't have, you know, what was it, 8 minutes left of this Zoom meeting or whatever, it's a big debate that we could have. But it goes back to the art versus the artist thing. And I mean, that's something we could probably, you know, put around the room. Like, I will listen to some stuff. Like, the Antichrist Superstar record was one of my favorite records of all time. But like, would I interview him now? And obviously, I've got a story. I think I told you, like that one time we were supposed to interview him in Nottingham, and he turned me down for some people, some ladies that he wanted to hang out with instead of me, which is fine, whatever. But like, I'm not, like, you know, ethically it doesn't suit me. You know, I'm doing loads of stuff in counselling at the minute, obviously, and ethically it doesn't really fit with me anymore. Manson, you know, was a big influence on me at the time. And there's other bands, you know, like I remember didn't you interview, I'm pretty sure, I mean, it's okay to talk about it in retrospect, didn't you interview Lost Prophets? You know what I mean? Like back in the day.
No,
like,
I never did.
I think it nearly happened for you, didn't it? But that's what I mean. Like, yeah. Ethically, now you can make those decisions and be like, no, that's not something I would do. There's a guy called Alberto Del Rio who's a wrestler. You know, he was a big WWE wrestler for a time, and he's been caught in some really difficult stuff recently. You know, some allegations, and we were offered an interview with him, you know, for the podcast and everything. You know, that's a big name to get, but he was on his kind of comeback. You know what I mean? His comeback after that, and you know, I made a decision not to do that, because you've got to work out. It's like you said in the beginning before we started this chat. You know, you've got to work out what sits with you, and morally. If I was offered a Marilyn Manson interview now, I would say no, you know, respectfully decline, because as much as, well, not respectfully to Manson, but respectfully to the people that were trying to organize it, it doesn't sit right with me now. It's a good question you asked, though. I don't know if there's any, I mean, that's you know, for you and Dave, like, are you guys able to separate the art from the artist?
I think it sometimes makes a difference how big an artist is, as to how sort of how far removed what they're doing is from your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a deep question. Let's put that to the listeners of One for the Roads podcast.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can spark a debate. It's a bigger question that me and you we'll have a beer or a non-alcoholic beer at some point off the record, because there's loads of stuff. There's loads. It's a massive debate. Can you separate the art from the artist? Again, it's down to the person. Down to the person. But good question, because no one's ever, because he was top of my bucket list, but not anymore. No, and I've gone on. I've done Rammstein, Placebo, Incubus, bands I grew up loving, and I'm happy with those. I'm proud of those, and there's all new bands. Wolf Alice, who are tearing it up at the minute. We've done the 1975. All these bands that are like world-beating bands now. We had a hand in, as you did too. You were one of the blogs and platforms that people support, supporting these bands first off. And so that's cool. And that's where I see us now. Nostalgia is fine, but as far as Marilyn Manson goes, there's a lot of people and a lot of allegations to be sweeping under the carpet, whatever you think. And for me, I would definitely turn that one down now. Yeah.
So what about new music? What have you been listening to, Dave?
Oh, it says new music. Best new music I've been listening to over the last couple of years. I think a UK punk band called Fresh, who just literally in the last couple of weeks put out a new EP called "The Summer I Got Good at Guitar," which is absolutely amazing. That's been a really cool thing for me, because it's really odd. 3-4 years ago, they supported Mag 7 and Jesus and His Judgmental Father at Fulford Arms.
Yeah.
Fast forward 3 years, they're supporting Pup on arena tours.
Nice.
But they, honestly, God, they're so genuinely really good and really nice people. And I think cool. The other main thing I've been listening to over the pandemic is a Bosnian ska collective called Dubiosa Collective.
I know those guys.
Insane mix of kind of ska, punk, metal, hip hop, and Eastern European folk music.
Sounds amazing.
I saw them in France, dude. It was so good.
They're just crazy.
Yeah.
Really political lyrics, but not taking themselves seriously at all.
Yeah, really good fun, man.
How about you, Dom?
It's a good question, man. So my favorite record of the year is an album called Fuck Art, and it's by the Dirty Nil, like a grunge rock band, really cool. Very kind of in at the moment, but bands like Viagra Boys are doing really well. Really like Black Country New Road. I think they're doing something really interesting. Teenage Wrist, who are like a really cool alternative rock band as well. I really like them. I'm just scrolling through some of my playlist. Oh yeah, Death Tour. Don't know if you've heard Death Tour, Dave, but I think you'll love them. They did a split with Strange Bones, who are a band from Blackpool, who are awesome. Losers have just come out with a new record. My friends Tom Bellamy and Paul Mullen, who used to be in Your Codename Is Milo, they're coming out with something new soon. Yeah, let's have a think. There's Loathe as well. I love Loathe. Love them from Liverpool. Sort of alternative post-metal sort of stuff. A band called Low Lives. I don't know, Craig, if you know from back in the day. Do you remember the Defiled?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy that was the vocalist in that is now in a grunge, really cool sort of alternative rock band. He lives in LA now with his wife, and it's a couple of members of Lost Prophets actually are in that band.
All right.
And they're really good. They're really good. It's called Low Lives. They're amazing. Such a wicked band. Obviously, I
remember seeing the Defiled at Leeds Rios with you.
Yeah, we saw them, didn't we? Yeah, good point. That was good. That was a good show.
Man, that brings
Rios,
yeah.
Yeah, man.
The poster in the middle of the stage.
Yes, yeah. I remember that post real well. I think you can't really look at, locally, regionally, man. You can't ignore the success of The Howl and the Hum. Beautiful band, beautiful songs. Bull, of course, who we've all seen play a bunch of times. They came and visited me when I was in the US. They were doing a tour. They played Boston, and now they're on EMI. Well, the sort of split that they've got with EMI, have got with Young Thug, which is good. Hull-wise, there's so many wicked bands. Obviously, you got the Last of the Wonder Kids from Grimsby.
I was literally about to say, I'm just thinking I probably should mention the band on my t-shirt.
Yeah,
You are one of the bands I've been listening to most over the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's so many good bands, man. There's
obviously
Life. What was that, dude?
And speaking of lovely people who happen to be quite good at music.
Well, yeah, Last of the Wonder Kids.
Genuinely lovely people.
Yeah, man. Life are really good, post-punk sort of stuff. Drummer used to be in Freaks Union. I don't know if you remember them, Craig, but like they're really good friends of mine. You might know them, Dave. Yeah, but yeah, no, Life are fantastic. There's loads, man. There's so many. I mean, we get new music all the time. I'm sure you're probably still on a few mailing lists.
Yeah, I don't get to check it as much, but hopefully we'll be able to reconnect with it a bit more, which would be cool.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good fun, man. I mean, like I say, if I was to say my album of the year, it would be that Dirty Nil record. I love what they're doing, like just pop, but like really good pop hooks, but grunge, and obviously like I grew up on that vibe, so like that's really like I've been listening to that over and over again, loads. There's not a bad track on that. It's called "Fuck Art," the album, but yeah, there's not a bad track on it. There's so many, man. What about you, Craig? What you like? Obviously, there's bands you book, and I don't know if there's separation between the bands you book and the bands you love. I don't know how honest you can be if there is any separation of those bands.
To be honest, there isn't. Like, right. I've got to the stage where like I'm booking the stuff that I listen to all the time. Yeah, stuff like Gaz Brookfield, Jake Martin, like B-sides. It's the stuff that I'm just constantly playing as well. But I'm on I have no chance of booking this at any point, but really loving what Machine Gun Kelly's doing these days.
Yeah, man, he's doing some real entertaining stuff. I like that whole scene. I'm actually Ghostmain, even though it's very like, that is the Manson of today's age. Hopefully he takes it in a much more, in a much more inspiring direction for young people.
I'm the only person alive that doesn't get the Machine Gun Kelly hype.
Oh no, I
feel like he mixes two genres that I love, and everyone who likes either genre seems to love him, and yet somehow he does nothing for me. Really, I cannot explain why. I can't put my finger on why. It's really weird.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, and Youngblood as well. Like that guy is so.
Oh cool. Yeah. There you go. That's another guy we worked with at the beginning. Obviously he's from Doncaster, so like you look at what he's doing, and he's from freaking Doncaster. Do you know what I mean? So like there's your example. Like we've helped him. Alan Raw's helped him out back in the day. Like people like it's great to be able to say publications at our level that we were. We were working with those bands at the very beginning, and obviously he's doing some incredible stuff now. And I think in the last 10 years, bands that are from these areas, are starting to make it then, and find global fame. And I think that's a really good, it's a really good inspirational point for people that if you live in York or Hull or Doncaster, you've got like the Howl and the Hum to look at. You've got Life, who they've toured with Idols. You've got Youngblood from Doncaster. You can do incredible things. You just have to have that drive. And like I think it's a really exciting time for music, man. I love like I say, those examples you all talk about. Youngblood, Machine Gun Kelly, Poppy's great too. Love what Poppy's doing at the moment. I mean, I love bands. Yeah, a bit of WWE. But then there's bands that one of my favorite bands of the last 5-10 years. Started off as a proper hardcore band. Actually, one of the nicest things, and you could take this how you wish, Dave. One of the nicest things Max ever did for me was introduce me to a band called Turnstile, and they've just come out with a new track. And they have like they were hardcore, and now they make like pop. But like hardcore, it's brilliantly done. I think that you probably find something in Turnstile if you've not listened to them, Craig. I'm sure Dave's probably listened. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but definitely Turnstile are fantastic, man. I love what they're doing. Like because they got me into like the hardcore stuff that we were sort of doing, and but they've taken it in a really good sort of accessible direction, which I love.
Yeah, I think probably my favourite band of the last 3 years has got to be Spanish Love Songs. Don't know if you know them, Dom.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Beautiful stuff. I
Yeah,
got into them.
It's bands at that level that I
several
wonder how the pandemic's going to hit. You know, that like early last year, bands that were about to break.
I think outside of the UK, it's a toss-up between them and Pup for me. Probably for me, Pup would win because I've got a massive soft spot for them. But yeah, Spanish Love Songs, weirdly, I kind of got introduced to during the pandemic by a friend, and I really want to see them now.
Yeah, well, they were on
really want to see them. Like, what I've heard is really good.
Yeah, they were on pretty much exactly the same path as Pup.
Yeah,
they were sort of making a bit of a name for themselves on their own right, and then they got like the Menzingers tour and then the Wonder Years tour. So you know, it's exactly the same steps that Pup were taking.
If you're liking Pup and Spanish Love Songs, I think you would dig Fresh. I really do.
Well, I put on that show when they supported you, so.
Did you?
Yeah.
For some reason, I had in my head that was Henry that put that on. No, fair enough. That's cool. Way since then. That's a long way since then.
It's like full circle, isn't it? It's like full circle. That's great.
Well, yeah, like you were saying about Craig, like getting you started with Soundsphere. Craig put on the first Mag 7 gig.
Yeah, there you go, man.
With his guest from, well, what at this moment in time was the last episode of the podcast, which probably won't be by the time this gets broadcast.
I think it will. Yeah, I think this is going to go out this week, so cool. It'll be
the lovely Jake.
It'll be fresh, should we say?
Jake and the Sunliner Fish.
Yeah. No, it was good talking to Jake, but we recorded that one like a couple of months ago. So a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, like, well, things have happened since.
Has changed since that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they're another great band, Sunliner, formerly Jake and the Jellyfish.
Yeah, I've heard. I'm really glad they changed that name, Jake and the Jellyfish. I think I found Jake and the Jellyfish through you, actually. And I'm glad they've changed the name because Sunliner is a much better name. And also, they're super talented as far as I remember from what I saw of them.
Yeah, Jake's fucking sick. I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to hearing the album. It's going to be weird hearing an album from them without any violins or acoustics.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting because obviously that's before the name change. They were folk punk. Now they're more just punk.
No, it's good stuff, and they've been working with Frank Turner in the studio on some of the new stuff.
Yeah. I saw the stuff on Instagram and that.
Yeah.
Good.
And frustratingly, brewed a beer with Brass Castle just before the pandemic and then never got a chance to actually sell it.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad because I love Jake and I love Kev who runs Brass Castle. And they're both good friends.
But yeah, since we're now talking about beer, that's a good little accident segue. So yeah, obviously we could sit like this chatting all night, but it'd be so much better if we were sat around a table in the pub.
Yeah.
So Dom, if you were choosing where we were going to have this conversation in the pub, where would you be taking us?
Come on, man, we'd be going to Fulford, wouldn't we? I mean, if I had to go York, I mean, if you were coming here, it'd be the Adelphi. But of course, like my love and a lot of, Dave always says that I'm actually just a York person at heart, which is true. So I think the Fulford is where I would go, even despite living in Fulford is the way forward. Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, it dipped out for a second, but
straight back.
Yeah, so my microphone changed apparently, but it's all good as long as you can still hear me. Plug in the Fulford and saying how great Chris Sherrington and Chris Took are. But yeah, definitely we'd got the Fulford, man. We'd drink some beers. I'd have some. I don't know if they do non-alcoholic beers yet, but they'll make me a cup of tea.
They do. They've always had a couple on. They've had the Heineken on quite a bit, which is good, and the alcohol-free Erdinger as well. Which is.
Have you actually stopped drinking then, Dom, or is this just purely just for tonight or whatever?
No, I never really drink. I never really drink that much anyway.
But you always kind of did drink.
Yeah, well, I was saying, man, I have enough trouble standing up as it is. I've just spilt that. It's non-alcoholic, and I've just spilt it all down me. But yeah, no, I rarely drink loads anyway, just because I have enough trouble standing up anyway. But as you know, Yeah, rarely. Like socially, I'll drink. You know what I mean? But yeah, quite like since the non-alcoholic beers have become a thing, you know, and yeah, I'm drinking my Beck's Blue at the minute. It's quite nice. But yeah, no, definitely, the Fulford will make me a cup of tea, so I'll be fine. You know, but. I would definitely. I'd get hammered with you. And I'm pretty sure I have been hammered with Craig a bunch of times back in the day.
I don't get hammered. I don't know what you're talking about.
Even me and Craig are straight edge.
Yeah. Now this, I seem to remember some student nights me and you were on that got pretty weird. But yeah, no, I'll always. Dave, I know, will carry me home if I need it. So you know, Dave's. I've seen.
Assuming I'm upright.
Well, yeah, across different parts of the world. So I know that if I was really stuck, Dave would pick me up, like, you know, like, and it would be lovely, carry me in his arms over the threshold of the Fulford. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, have you found any particular alcohol-free beer that stands out? I've tried quite a few.
Yeah, I like the Beck's one, man. There's a couple. I'm just kind of getting into them now. My housemate's been getting them for me, so I've been trying a couple of things. Yeah, man. Like I said, I just sat and I've had a couple of Beck's non-alcoholic ones today, and in preparation for this podcast, where I didn't actually know we'd be talking about beer, but it just so happened that we are, which is handy. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of good stuff out there at the moment. I'm looking forward to doing some more discovery out in the world, you know, because obviously I'm sitting in my kitchen. You know, this is the wrestling kitchen where I host the Give Me a Hull Yeah podcast. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going out into the world, actually hanging out at pubs and bars with you guys, preferably, and drinking some beers.
Excellent. And what are you drinking, Dave? Well, both now and like if we were going out for this drink.
At the moment, I'm drinking Bad Kitty, which is pretty much the core beer of Brass Castle that I happened to just mention earlier because they brewed that beer with Jake. But just, yeah, lovely vegan beer brewery in Malton, run by a couple of punks who I basically got to know accidentally because we're in Artful Dodger and they were playing Random Hand and I was singing along and he just came up and was like, "Oh, you like Random Hand?" And then we got chatting, and it turned out, yeah, it was the guy that ran Brass Castle, whose beer I'd been drinking.
I love Random Hand, man. Love Random Hand.
Yeah, we all do.
Such good memories.
Good dudes.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the Fulford Arms doesn't have a jukebox. So if you were going up to Chuki at the sound desk and telling him to put 3 songs on, what are we listening to while we're having this drink?
Well, you have to pick songs for each of us, wouldn't you? Really? So like. I wouldn't dominate the jukebox, but for pure comedy, I would put the just to annoy everybody. I'd put on The Awkward Hand Job by Sleepaway, just for everybody's amusement, because that song was written about a very personal thing that happened to Jay Sillens, not me at all, and it's a really quick song too. It's like it's about as pop punk as we got. So I'd put that on. For Dave, oh man, that's because me and Dave, we all have very similar taste. I'll defer my picks because I wouldn't want to just blast 3 tunes that I like, because it'll all be like super miserable goth or super miserable grunge. So like I'll put on Sleepaway for me and piss everybody off, and then I'll defer my picks. So I mean, you know, I could. Maybe American Head Charge for me and Dave to mosh to, which sounds, maybe I can assume Dave's pick and pick some American Head Charge for us. Craig, man, there you go. Well, that's an interesting one. Maybe like Sonic Boomsticks or Random Hand or something. But then again, that you could put that with Dave as well. So what would you guys? I see what you guys take your picks before I start assuming your choice of song.
I'm going to put on something by Days and Days.
Cool.
Very good band. If you've not checked them out, you should.
Very, very cool people. Weirdly played a squat gig within Sheffield. Of all the bands I've been in, I played with Days and Days with Pewter City Punks. which was interesting. I don't really remember much of that gig because it was before I turned straight edge, and my memories of the gig are quite hazy, but they were very friendly and we drank a lot of beers between us. Very nice people.
I think two of them are sober now.
Say that again, sorry?
I think two of Days and Days are straight edge now.
I'm not gonna lie, that surprises me.
Out of necessity, I believe.
Yeah, fair enough. I can believe that.
I think
the state we got in. Yeah.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall of some of your tour dates with Can Play or Die, Dave, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall with some of your nights with Jonah from Far, Craig. I think there's some parts of your careers, respectively, that I'm like fascinated by.
All I'll say about touring with Can Play or Die is you're both no smell.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say on that matter. There were some interesting times.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll finish this podcast then with one of my. But it's since become one of my favourite Jonah stories, and it was when he was touring with Dave McPherson.
Love Dave.
I can't remember the other person that was on the tour. I've forgotten his name, so apologies if he's listening. But yeah, so they all stayed at ours afterwards, and they had a drive to Glasgow the following day. No, it wasn't Thief. Right. Barry's a good friend. I'd know Barry.
Just trying to remember the people I've seen play with.
I think his name was Simon Chester, guy from Newcastle. But yeah, they had a long drive up to Glasgow after the York show, and it got to just after midday, and they were still in the house. And sort of Dave, obviously very experienced at touring within me and everything, and he was getting a bit frustrated that they were still there. And the reason they were waiting is because Jonah had got up and put his washing on.
Right.
So yeah, they were just waiting for Jonah's laundry to finish.
Amazing.
Americans do love their hygiene.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get by with crusty underwear and hanging out in a van, can't we? But yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise we were running a laundrette.
Not Jonah from Far. Yeah.
He's a lovely man, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up loving Far, so when you started working with him, I was like, same with Dave, actually, from Inme. I was like, oh, that's so cool, man. I was like, that's so cool. I always thought you kicked ass, like, with some of your booking. Like, I was just like, that's awesome. Those shows, man. I think I've been to a few of them.
Yeah.
Like, it was really cool. Really good.
I think, we got to the stage where we were doing like a show for both Dave and Jonah, like exactly the same time every year. It sort of became like just a routine, and it worked for a while. And then I think it gets to the stage where people just be like, oh, I'll see it next time.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes more and more difficult, which is a shame. But
yeah, man.
But hopefully after the last 18 months, like people are just going to be really enthusiastic to come out and see shows again. So we'll be back to packed rooms.
Fingers crossed.
Very nice.
So. I think so, man. I think so. Like, but every indication, like I said, already putting on some shows at the Adelphi, some distant shows, and people are going. And I know that the Fulford have put on some stuff. So I think early indications are that people are dead keen to get out again. And obviously, Dave, you'll be playing with everybody you possibly can do, and Craig, you'll be putting on loads of wicked shows at the Fulford, and I'm sure the Fulford will love you for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with everyone.
Yeah, excellent. Right, well, thanks for your time, guys. Thanks for spending a Sunday evening together. It's been fun. You got anything else either of you would like to add before we call it a night? Just
big love, and nice to see you guys again. Obviously, it's been a long time, so just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, I love you both very much. Don't always get to say it, but a lot of love and respect for you guys for sure.
Much love to you, Dom.
I was like, I thought you were just gonna be like, "Fuck off, Dom." Tempting
as it was, now.
I've seen your balls on a cruise on a
yes,
ship.
You have. Yes, you have. Privilege Craig has not yet had, which I'm sure he's devastated about.
No, so I think that's a good place to finish. So thanks to you guys for your time, and thanks to everybody for listening. Like and subscribe and share, and do all the things that you do with podcasts in all the usual places. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.